Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And today I'm going to be doing a video on underrated EDH cards part 4. Now, before I hop into this, I feel like some people might get their panties in a twist because they'd be like, Tracy, everyone in my LGS runs this card. It's not underrated. This is just my experience at my LGS of cards that I don't necessarily see as many people running that I think are pretty good. So if everyone runs a card, it's okay. Your life will be okay. So, I will list the other parts in the down bar below. I think this is really fun to talk about some cards that maybe you might not have heard of necessarily, cards that I just think are really strong. So let's hop into it. So the first card I want to talk about is Terrarian Generator. Fun fact, I actually have this card in my Omnath deck and it's in Japanese, and I actually always forget what this card does. And then every time I play it and I do it, I'm like, this card is so good, honestly. It's only 2 mana. You do have to tap it, so you 2 and then tap this, so 3 total, for putting a basic land into your hand tapped. Now, it is a basic, so I just want to note that it is tapped and it is 2 mana and this to tap it. So it's kind of a lot going on, so it kind of honestly, excuse me, probably does look pretty underwhelming. But honestly, I think this card is just really strong. I like it. I do have it, like I said, in Omnath. I don't think this belongs in like every deck, but if you're playing maybe a monocolored deck where you have a lot of basics, or if you're playing like a lands type of deck where you again do have basics, I think this is a really strong card. Like I said, in Omnath, I think it works really well, and maybe in monocolored decks too. So I do really like Terrarian Generator a lot. The next card I want to talk about is Raze Forerunners. Now, if you are someone who cannot afford a Critter of Behemoth, or you just want to run both, and Raze Forerunner is a really good card. It's not a dupe. It's not like better than it by any stretch of the imagination, but it's cheap. Much cheaper than Crater of Behemoth, and it's a mini, it's like Crater of Behemoth is like second cousin. Like, it's good. So basically what it does, it's got Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. I mean, I'm about that, you know. 8 mana, 7/7s that do that. I like it. And when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. It's a mini, like, pump spell to your entire team, and then you're left with a creature. I think this card is really good. Again, for people who just can't really afford the more expensive version, I think this is a really solid alternative. And good in, like, just stompy things. Like, honestly, this is just a good card. I like it. The next card is Mistmeadow Witch. I really like this card. I feel like I see a lot of people running this in like blink type of decks. But honestly, even if you don't, if you just have like some ETB effects, Mistmeadow Witch is really good. Also, it doesn't have to blink your own stuff, so you can target your opponent's stuff. So 1, this is kind of like a mini Mazavith on a creature. 2, you can do it as many times as you have mana, which is really good. If you have like nothing else to do with your mana for whatever reason, you could just like blink stuff, and then it enters battle at the end of their turn, so they attack, and then you're just like, nope, blink it. Like, Mistmeadow Witch is really good. It's a really inexpensive card too. I really like this card. This card, I feel like people don't know what this card is. And it's so good, and it's so cheap, and it's so underrated, and that is Serra's Guardian. I think a lot of times core sets get like swept under the rug, and I feel like there's some really solid gems in there that people just don't know about or don't really pay attention to, and this card, in my opinion, is one of them. Serra's Guardian. So first off, this is so tiny. Can I just let y'all know, my computer is about around hand length distance from me. A little bit more than hand length distance, and I cannot see it. I am old. I wear glasses for distance, and I have to make this super big. Okay, anyways, moving on, y'all probably don't care. Serra's Guardian. It is a 6 mana 5/5 with flying and vigilance, and other creatures you control have vigilance. It's a really, really straightforward card, giving your team vigilance. Like, there have just been so many instances where, like, I'm playing against someone, and they're just like, attack, and they just have vigilance, and I'm like, this is annoying. Like, vigilance is an annoying mechanic. Like, can't we all agree? It's a great mechanic, but it is so annoying to go against because you're like, you attack and then you can just block with your thing. It's so good. This card is so good, and I see like no one play it. Great card. The next card is Sword of the Animist. And seeing by the price point of this card, it's a solidly expensive card. It's like $6-7. I feel like people are probably running this card, but I don't see anyone that I know running this card. This card is Boss. So it is 2 mana, and to equip it is 2, and then it is a +1/+1. When it attacks, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle your library. This is a really simple card. It's really straightforward. There's not a lot of whole, like, whoa factor, but, like, it's so good. Just thinning your deck and getting those basics out. Like, I honestly think I only own 1 copy of this card, and I should put it in more of my decks. I just run a lot of specialty lands, so I feel like sometimes I can't really justify it, but honestly, I really like this card for mana fixing. I think this card totally needs a reprint as well, because, like, it's like $7, which is not, like, unrealistic, but it's good. It gets basics. I love mana wrapping, so sort of the Animist. Good card. This card, fun fact, I actually forgot about this card, and then I don't really know what, like, brought me back to it. I think I saw one random person playing it. I was like, you go, you're running this card. And that is Fatespinner. I had this card back a long time ago in my ladies deck, in my OG deck, not in the second version. I just thought this card was so strong, and then I think I, like, traded it again, forgot about it, and then now I'm like, I want to get myself a copy of this card because it's really good. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, so it doesn't impact you, which is great, that player chooses draw, main, or combat, and they skip that phase. This is a really good political, death and taxes-y type of card in blue. I feel like this card honestly kind of seems more like a white card. I feel like more than anything. It just seems like a very death and taxes-y type of effect. But, yeah, so you can have them skip anything. I feel like what's really good about this is that it puts them in a situation where you can kind of have, like, a little bit of security blanket. So if they're, like, in a state where they really want to cast spells and they really want to attack, they're kind of at that standstill where they, like, kind of have to decide, and then drawing cards, I mean, is, like, the best thing ever, so it's, like, you know, overall, I just think this card is really strong. I don't really see a lot of people running it, and I think it's really good. Cool. The next card, I love this card, and that is Cold-Eyed Selkie. I think this card is so fun, and I am so happy that I had the chance to run it. I run this card in my Merfolk deck, and it is so good. Like, oh my goodness, I love it. It looks pretty underwhelming, to be honest. It's 3 mana for a 1/1 with Island Walk, which may or may not be relevant. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. Now, this card belongs in the right deck. You need some sort of, like, pump spells, anthem effects. You need something like that to make this card really worth it, because swinging 1 mana and then drawing 1 card with the creature is not super ideal. So I would only run this card in, like, those types of situations. But, like, in, like, green-blue type of decks, if you have those types of effects, like you're building a Merfolk type of deck, or, I don't know, you're just running, like, a +1/+1 counters themes, or sea monsters, like, I don't really know. I just think this card is really, really good. I love drawing cards in this card. I think a lot of people, like, whenever I play it, I feel like I play it, and then someone's like, that card doesn't do anything. And then it's like a 4/4, and then I'm drawing like 4 cards every turn, and they're like, oh, that might be a problem. And it's like, yeah, you probably should have dealt with it earlier. So I kind of like that it's like a little bit more of an underrated card in the actual state of the game, that people are like, that card's not good. And it's like, it actually is. So okay, this card, I truly, like, genuinely believe, like, there's some of these and I'm like, oh yeah, people might run this. I genuinely believe this card is, like, truly underrated. That is Nissa Vital Force. I feel like there are so many Planeswalkers that come out that I feel like sometimes some Planeswalkers just, like, totally get swept under the rug, and then some people just, like, don't run them. This is a card that I have only in my Omnath deck, and I love it. I will say I really just love this card truly for the ult, but it has its other abilities. We'll go through it together. She's got 5 mana for 5 loyalty. For 1 mana, you untap target land you control, and then until end turn, it becomes a 5/5 elemental with haste. Like, that is not something super fancy. We've seen better +1 abilities. Cough, cough, Elsbeth, Sun's Champion. Like, let's be real, it's the best Planeswalker ever. Like, all other arguments are literally invalid. Like, let's be completely honest here. The -3, I actually do really enjoy this aspect of this card, and I think if you don't get the ult off, like, she's ticked down or whatever for whatever reason, I do really like this, and I do find myself using this a decent amount of time. You can return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. I kind of honestly wish this did say anything, because I feel like this it would just make it so much better, but it is permanent, so you can get back a land, or a creature just can't get back instant sorceries, which is kind of a bummer. But anyways, the ult is like the main thing, and this, again, it doesn't look that good. It's good. You get an emblem with whatever land ETBs, you draw a card. I think any type of landy, yep, we're gonna like invent that. That's gonna be the quote of 2K19 is landy is Tracy, that's the new word. Let's add that to like Urban Dictionary or something. But whenever a land enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Now, again, doesn't seem like anything super fancy. If you're playing one land per turn, why are you running this kind of thing? But if you're playing like any type of deck where you're just like pumping out lands, this is a great card. She's pretty inexpensive. The SDCC one, which is like the stunning one, is like really expensive because, I mean, let's be real, it's stunning. But like, honestly, Nissa Vital Force, top notch. I love her. I think she is so good. Have her in Onmouth and she just doesn't disappoint. She's really good. The next card, I kind of have mixed feelings. Like, I think this card is good, but I feel like, I don't know, Gravedigger, I'll let y'all kind of like be the discretion factor on this. Enter the battlefield, you can return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. I think this card belongs in a couple of different decks, like Recursion. I think like any type of like Recursion, but then honestly you're playing black, so like I feel like even if you're not playing a lot of Recursion, like this would be a good card anyway. What I really like about this card is a lot of times the cards that are cheaper mana-wise might put it back onto the battlefield, but they're not a creature. So I kind of like this as like dual purpose. Like you can like have this as a creature, but then like if it dies or you need to sack it for whatever reason, you can do that. And then you've already kind of like gotten back your thing to your hand. I just think that this in like an abundance of other like graveyard recursion spells, I just think is really good. And I do run this in zombies and I do like it. I like that it's a zombie. I think it's a good addition to zombie decks or recursion decks. Or if you're just kind of like on a budget and you need some recursion options, this is a great card. The last card tonight, I think we're ending on a really good like high note because this was one of like the first, I would say, angels that I really fell in love with, and that was Angelic Skirmisher. This card is so stupid good, and people don't know it. Okay, she's kind of a bit of mana. She's 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer, but at the beginning of each combat, y'all, every single combat, you're playing a 4 or 5 person game of EDH, every single combat, you get to pick something, and your team gets that buff. So here's what you do. You play this, you can choose either Vigilance, First Strike, or Lifelink. You choose Vigilance when you attack. Your team's got Vigilance, and then you choose Lifelink, and you just have a huge wall of things. And people are just like, I don't want to swing into you. People forget this card exists. They don't know what it does, so you play it, and then you're like, oh, yeah, like, I'm gonna, like, they're like, combat, and I'm like, okay, choosing Lifelink, and they're like, I forgot. And then you're like, yep, you're not going to attack me. She's so good. People do not know what this card does, and it is pretty hilarious when you just totally blow people out of the water when you, like, choose life and you just gain a ton of life. Or, the better thing is, you choose, and it's like a distraction almost, and you're like, here's my wall, deal with it. Like, deal with this one card. So, she's so strong. And then, honestly, like, if that is not the tactic, you can just, like, go really hard. You can choose First Strike, or you can just choose Lifelink from the bat, and then just not. I personally like the Vigilance and then the Lifelink strategy is, like, my main thing. It's, like, my go-to, so. Team, that is it. That is it for talking about underrated EDH cards part 4. I hope you thought this video was helpful. Like it if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.